Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for attending this webinar with us. Um, I will start with thanking our partner Plus the Edge for partnering with us for a series of webinars, including this one. A very special thanks to Ruwayda and Mustafa for being our host tonight and giving us this webinar. Before we start, I would like to briefly introduce myself. I am Miran Shamal. I am the ecosystem assistant. It's always hard to say my position, ecosystem assistant at 51 Labs. And also, I would like to talk about 51 Labs. We are a nonprofit organization that we work in supporting entrepreneurs and young people with entrepreneurship ideas through programs, through our business incubator, and a variety of activities such as this webinar and many like this. Also, before we start, there are some points that I want to mention. I will be muting everybody's mics, including myself, so that we avoid any background noises during the session. Our session will be an hour long with 15 to 20 minutes at the end for questions and answers. Also, this webinar will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. And just so that everybody knows, these are the points that I want to talk about. Without taking any more times, I would like to give the mic to Ruwayda Mustafa, and so that she starts with the webinar. Ruwayda, please.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you all for coming to this short webinar today. I will try to make what I say very short so that we can have a more engaged conversation with everyone, because I genuinely think people tend to have more questions than they are receptive of receiving information. So I will share my screen with you all to highlight what I'll be talking about. So can you all see my screen, or if you just nod to me, Mira, if you can.
Yeah, I can see it.
Great. Essentially, what I'm trying to achieve today is to highlight why it's essential and important for Kurdish business savvy youth and brands to look at the international community to promote their business. In other words, Kurdistan region is a very small place. It's a developing region with a political dynamic that's not very stable for sustaining long-term business. What I see from youth quite often is that they bring back products from H&M, from Primark, from Zara, and they sort of add a very small fee on top of it and deliver it to people as a way of saying, I've established a business for myself. But these models are, in my opinion, they're not just failed models, but they're also quite weak because they don't generate jobs for other people and they don't generate enough profit to call it a sustainable business. Instead, what I'm proposing is for Kurdish youth, not youth, anyone really that's interested in business, to think of ways where they can supply products to major chains in UK, in Europe, in United States, Canada, and elsewhere. Now, it might seem like a very hard thing to do, but it's not. For example, H&M does not have a single manufacturing company to produce their clothes, their jewelry, their lotions, their makeup. They don't have their own manufacturing companies. Instead, they have over 500 suppliers. They have they hire different suppliers, and all that information is available on their website. If anyone wants to, for instance, become a supplier, all you have to do is highlight your capacity, what you're able to do, what sort of products you'll use, your who you are, your track record, and things as such. In terms of the other forms of business we see in Kurdistan are those who buy from Turkish and Chinese companies. They bulk buy, repackage, and sell it locally. Or we've seen some small-scale franchises sometimes fake franchises that have become available. I've also seen products purchased in huge bulks from Alibaba and other places where you buy really cheap products and then try to get as many customers domestically as possible. But as we've seen in Kurdistan region, because everything relies on oil, when oil prices drop, salaries don't get paid, people don't have money to spend, and businesses that follow these models fail to make money and instead might not have the things they've purchased from outside of Kurdistan region sold. Some micro business owners that we've seen recently include Lala Candles, which is made in Kurdistan by someone called Huda Serhang, and she's a very young lady who's pursuing this very authentic brand. We also have Dali Designs, Mr. Erbil, Chopi, Nasik, Howard and Lawrence Designs, and lots of business ideas that are emergent, but they're very small and they focus internally. They don't look at how their products can make a profit outside of Kurdistan region. Now, a starting point to making profit outside of developing regions would be through selling internationally. Now, one website that's very good would be amazon.com or amazon.co.uk. It has two ways of selling products. The first way is to sell your products via as an artist. So if you make handmade products like jackets or necklaces, bracelets, artwork, anything that's handmade, they would support you. They give you workshops, they give you one-on-one assistance, and they even deduct referral fees. In other words, so if this is a bit confusing, hopefully during the questions I'll clarify more. What you do is you register on there, you put your products on their website, and you can ship some of your products to their warehouses, and they will deliver to people themselves in Europe, in Canada, in Australia, and elsewhere. When you want to sell internationally, obviously before doing all of that, you have to register as a company, you have to know who your audience is, and you have to know what exactly you are trying to sell. When I try to argue that it's better to partner with international companies, essentially I'm asking youth and people to look internally within Kurdistan region to see what capacity the region has, and make things like the most basic thing, children's products, and sell them on Amazon. Now I'll explain that a bit more. So as an Amazon seller, if you go on amazon.com and go to registering as an Amazon seller, you are able to reach millions of customers. You can be very specific in what you sell, and Amazon themselves actually do the fulfillment. So that means if you've, for instance, if you have 100 tops, workout tops, and you package them properly, you can print out the packaging that Amazon as an Amazon seller, you'll have your own help, you'll have your own guidance on their website. Once you've packaged properly, you ship those products to their warehouses, whether in Europe, if that's the marketplace, or if you want to just sell in UK. Again, the number of people you'll have, for example, in UK, you'll have a market of 66 million people to reach. So if you have a product and you're selling in UK, what Amazon does, it stocks up your products in their warehouses. Whenever someone orders on a website or on their phone, they do the delivery for you and they charge you a small fee. So as you can see sort of from the graph, as you register as a seller, you list your products, you sell your products, Amazon ships it out to people, and once that happens, Amazon pays you for obviously what you sold, and they take a small percentage as fee for their packaging and for their delivery. So if you're interested in finding out what can I make in Kurdistan that will sell on Amazon, there's a website called Jungle Scout. It provides data on what generates the most profit on Amazon. Some sellers make between $26,000 to $800,000 annually. You might think, what do they sell? But it includes things like if you have a dummy clip. So the pacifiers, it's one of my kids. So a pacifier has a clip, and that clip costs about £6 to £10. You can easily make that in Hawler or Slemani or throughout Kurdistan. You can easily set up a small office and have your own staff, or start off by doing it yourself. You can easily produce those in Kurdistan and then sell it on Amazon and become an Amazon seller. If you look on Jungle Scout, you'll see tons and tons of products that sell really well, and they can generate a sustainable income for people. My opinion is that don't import cheap products elsewhere and try to make them locally. That way you hire local people, you generate an income for local people, you take the reliance that people have on the political establishment and the government, and instead you give people power back to themselves. In terms of how much it would cost to produce things in Kurdistan and then ship them to UK or Europe, that depends entirely on sort of what shipping company you use. But I have experience with shipping products for myself, like for our household, and it's not that high. You could still generate a profit and still bear the cost of shipments. Every month, 197 million people visit Amazon.com. As someone that invests in Amazon, as an Amazon seller, you will have access to a significant percentage of those people who are searching for a product that you sell. You can also use advertisements to ensure that your products are highly ranked. You could be very savvy and give your customers like a 10% discount to ensure that they leave you a positive comment. There are tons and tons of ways to do this. All you have to do is begin your research path on how to sell on Amazon. You can contact them. I've contacted them previously. They've been very much engaging with people who talk to them. And it's very cost effective. It's not risky because you don't have a physical store, you have a digital shop. Obviously at the moment you've got the coronavirus, so it's not going to be very easy in the next year to get on the track of establishing a business, but it's a perfect opportunity for anyone to explore what kind of business they want to go into, what can they make in Kurdistan. And believe me, there are tons and tons of things that can easily be produced in Kurdistan. For example, you have spices that you could sell internationally, package them well, and marketing is 50% of your what drives profit essentially. And other products you can have is that we have a really strong carpentry history. So you can, for example, make wooden products that are very popular. You will be able to sell them on Etsy or Amazon. Other websites include notonthehighstreet.com, which is very popular in UK. And so other Kurdish products that I think would see a huge market would be pomegranate sauce, because Kurdistan is one of the places that produces one of the richest pomegranate sauce, but unfortunately nobody from our region has been able to package it well and to kind of send it to high-end restaurants in Europe or in UK for them to taste, to test, and to use in their food. And people have a very, I would say, narrow mindset from our region in terms of thinking what could work. The options are limitless. All you have to do is research or find a product that you think will sell and will generate an income. And I know that sounds very much like a privileged thing to say, but my aim for the year to come would be to encourage youth and to find avenues for them to pursue, so that they don't have to be reliant on the political establishment in the region, and so that they can be their own business owners, and they can make a profit for themselves and be proud of their own achievements. Another thing that I was particularly impressed with. So in the UK, there's a shortage of PPE within hospitals. What some companies have done, they've set up a website where you can basically enter how much shortage you have of PPE, and then manufacturing companies come in and say, well, I can provide you with 1,000 PPE for this cost, and those companies would take up those offers. So what I'm trying to say, even during this difficult time, if there are business savvy individuals from our region, you can still generate a business for yourself by understanding what is needed, such as hospital equipment where there are shortages. Other equipments that would be very wise to sell on Amazon: children's toys. We have a traditional lanik that would constitute as a Montessori toy, and I think that would sell very well. Household products would sell well. This talk hasn't been that informative, in that I'm not a businesswoman and I don't intend to be, but I really hope that through 51 Labs, this can be the start for many people to start asking questions about their own business, asking questions about what works, finding out what avenues and what platforms exist to support them. And the key platforms at the moment are Amazon.com and Amazon Handmade. And those two platforms would give people access to millions of people where they can sell their products. So I will have a quote for you all. And this quote is, business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. So if you miss out on opportunity, there's many more to pursue. But always think that you don't have to have a physical presence in Kurdistan region in order to generate jobs domestically. So you don't have to have a shop. You can actually do things digitally. You can, hire people digitally, or train or give your services digitally. If you go on freelancer.com, if you are a marketing strategist, you can display your skill set there, and how you can and you can attract other people who are looking for the skill sets that you have. Other ways, if you're very young and you're listening to this, you can, for example, go on Harvard, free courses where you can learn to code. They've got tons of free courses available for people to learn new skill sets. So despite our region being very much at the bottom of business growth, I really have high hopes for prosperity, and I'll be hopefully working with lots of young people in the year to come as the coronavirus settles down, and we will establish a sort of a union or a group of people to support their business ventures. I'll stop the slideshow, and I really look forward to hearing what questions everyone has, if there's something that I can help with. And I've just seen someone that says, could you share your slides in full screen mode? I do apologize. I had no idea that people were actually... okay.
Thank you, Ruwayda.
Yeah, if you can just unmute people, that'd be... I'm not sure how to do that.
Whoever has a question, they can ask in the chat, or they can unmute themselves and ask their questions. Now, I think we should start with reading the ones that we already have, and then give the opportunity.
Yeah. So someone said they have a publishing business and they publish books. Online, really the future is digital. If you haven't invested in a digital platform, or if you have a business that does not have a digital presence, you must establish that. If you know, there's a shop in UK called Primark. They used to make over £500 million, I believe, annually. But at the moment, their growth is zero, because they didn't have a physical shop. And, it's one of those big mistakes they've made.
There's a question from Mr. Ahmad Safa. He says, can you sell organic things through this platform, like honey, food, because food is more delicate to ship?
So with products you sell, it depends what market you're selling to. If you're selling to the international market, you must have a certificate that says this product meets the international or the European standard. Now, United Kingdom is coming out of it has come out of the European Union, which as a result means that you would have a specific requirement for any product you sell within the UK. That information should be available on Amazon Seller. It should give you a guideline on how to sell those products. But other platforms include something called notonthehighstreet.com. Many people use that website, and you can sell organic products. Obviously they have their own requirements that you need to meet, but they're one of the most high-end, really beautiful organizations or companies that allow you to sell your products.
Great, thanks. Belinda, I hope I'm reading that name correctly. Says, great initiative, Ruwayda. Great to see you there. As you know, there are business ethic issues with Amazon. She's providing a link to Amazon alternatives. Like, they could be like, besides the ethic issues, they could be also a link to many other partner potentials,
So one of the things with Amazon is that lots of people have tried to abuse the system established because they've wanted to make a very quick profit, and they've purchased really bad products from China or other places, and they're selling them at a very high price. I think one of my kids are just coming up. So yeah, there is an ethical side to Amazon, and it is something that's an issue. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't use the platform, because you'll have access to millions and millions of buyers.
True. Shilan says, how about startup businesses?
Well, it depends on what sort of business you're trying to start up. Again, authenticity is the most vital ingredient in establishing any business. At this moment, I would say be very cautious about what venture you go into, because we don't know how the markets will perform until things settle with coronavirus. For startup businesses, I would say find a coach or a mentor, find people that are already doing your business, understand every single bit of information about that sector before you go into it. Sorry.
Basically do a very thorough research before going into the business.
Is it a good idea to start from a YouTube channel? It depends. Tell me, I don't know. Can you sell things off YouTube? How would that work? It depends pretty much on what the business is, but YouTube isn't the first place that comes to mind for a business, to be honest.
Can I just make a quick suggestion? So I've found that Google has really good resources when it comes to like digital marketing and learning about like social media strategy, etc. And it's all free as well. So it's really good. It's called Google Digital Garage. If anyone, I'll type that into the
yeah, I was just going to do that actually. Yeah, please do type it. So another thing we could do at the end of this, hopefully, is to start like a group for youth who want to start their own business and who have questions, a support system for them. I think that would be very useful.
One of the ways that 51 Labs approach young people with business ideas is through basically our programs. In our business incubator, in a 3-month-long program, we basically take all the participants through their user research, their market research, and like a lot of procedures that to help them basically understand the market they are going into. If I read another question from Keisha, she says, hello, dear Ruwayda. I own KJ Shop, and whenever I want to ship internationally, the shipping companies take $60 to $100 to Europe, and I don't know how to make it work. It's really hard in Kurdistan.
So how much do the shipping companies take?
$60 to $100.
I know you own I know she owns a company, but that seems quite high. I don't know about shipping companies. I'll be very honest. I don't know how much they charge, but with places like Amazon, you know exactly how much they'll be charging you, and it's a very small fee, somewhere around £1.50 per product that they package and ship for you.
I think that price is for basically one product. I think I don't know about, like, I don't want to
Yeah.
but like personally, I think if you send more items in a bundle, I think it might cost
So
more.
if you were to sell your products to a Amazon warehouse, you would do it in large bulks because it's more cost effective. And then the staff at Amazon would sort of put your packages appropriately for them to be sold out. So it's not going to be sending products one by one. It would be more like sending 200 to 500 products at once.
Someone else says Google Digital Garage is great to learn about digital marketing and social media. It's all free. True, I've seen a lot of people basically finishing courses from Google Digital Garage, and personally, I'm looking forward to participate in one of them. I'd love to read any other questions, or if anybody wants to take the mic and ask any questions, please feel free to. I think no one else has any questions. Ruwayda, is there anything else you want to talk about before, if someone else has questions or anything?
Honestly, I don't. I want us to start something for youth. I want us to start a group where we can come together and brainstorm the ways to support each other, because at the moment it almost feels like many people have lots of business ideas. They don't know how to pursue them. They don't know how to establish networks for them, but it's entirely possible to have a brand and then to have a Kurdish brand that you make available internationally. And it's also entirely possible to become a supplier to major high-end chains, like H&M, Zara, etc. There are many ways to partner with them. The first starting point would be to initiate contact with these companies, to have a catalog of your products. So if you are someone who designs clothes or someone who designs jewelry, you need to be able to catalog your products and showcase them to them and illustrate why, you know, what kind of quality you use, what kind of testers you've made, why your product deserves, or why they should have your product. So that's my only advices, or one of my advices today would be to have a catalog of what you're trying to sell, to have a clear idea of what you want to sell, and to initiate contact with foreign companies, because it may seem very impossible for them to partner with you, but believe it or not, there is someone like me, you and me, behind a desk somewhere who is answering these emails, and they're human beings, they're not robots. So if you explain sort of, you know, you are a talented youth from Iraqi Kurdistan region who's really trying to enter into the market, they would be very forthcoming. And if they're not, if you don't receive a response, or if they reject you, ask them, well, thank you for rejecting me. Could you please show me, you know, how my pitches could be better next time? So first initiate contact, pursue the right contact. So don't just send an email somewhere, and if you don't get a response, and say, well, that's it, I tried and failed. Continue to find those contacts, and also, you know, get in touch with other companies that may market your goods, smaller companies. So if you're not succeeding with partnering with a huge chain, look on Instagram, look at the shops that are available. You know, there might be a mini boutique in London that has a modest customer base, but they might be interested in your products. So
Yeah.
I think there's a, so
question.
yeah, sanitizers. So for us, we ordered a box of sanitizers about 6 weeks ago, and they were delivered yesterday. We actually asked our in-laws when they came to UK to bring us sanitizers, because there was a huge amount of it in Hollid, but we couldn't buy any here. So yeah, sanitizer would be a really profitable product at the moment.
Ali Jawad says, my question would be, do I really have to register my business if it's online based? By registration, I mean through the painful, long process of registering. Before Ruwayda, you answer that, I would say, Mr. Ali, I will provide a link in a short while. That is a research that 51 Lab did on basically registration in Kurdistan and in Iraq. More focused on, on Kurdistan region and how you can go through the process. I will send the link during Ruwayda's answer.
I don't know how the registering process works, and I don't know what business you have. But yes, it's always important to register your company and your business, unless you want someone to imitate it or copy it. Sorry, I think one of my kids. I'll bring you guys one of my kids entertain you. Oh, sorry about this.
I just sent the link to our roadmap to startup research, which is a basically a research about the process of registering your business. Oh, hello.
We have a guest.
Great.
But in UK, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
in
okay.
UK, it takes like literally 10 minutes to register a company. It's very straightforward. It's a shame that it's not as straightforward within Kurdistan.
There's another question from Dilman. Apart from products, services are also, I think it's a more of a point. Great to sell. If you are a graphic designer or provide copywriting, these are great tools to utilize while still being in Kurdistan.
Yeah, definitely. Freelancer.com. If you can do graphic designs, you can do that. Or if you are able to edit, again, you can find resources from there. Or if you want to, there are tons and tons of ways to showcase what talents and skill sets you have. But as a business, thank you. As a business, having as a business model, it's very hard to, for example, edit work or do graphic design unless you have your own sort of company with other staff members. But as a starting point, yes, freelancer.com, there's tons and tons of websites where you can generate income for yourself as a young person in Kurdistan. So that's the Dilman, that's definitely something useful to highlight.
Great, thank you. Is there any other questions, any points from our participants?
I just want to make a little hello. I'm Zay, or short for Zainab, and I just want to say that so in London we have an organization like supporting Kurdish entrepreneurs. So we mainly work with like Kurds in London, but we would love like if there's anyone that wants to ask us any questions, or if they want access to any kind of resources, we would love to help, because we support startups mainly.
Is that the one in King's Cross with Belinda? Or
yes,
yeah.
That's
I do. Very popular, you do brilliant work. So if there's a way for you and 51 Labs to connect, I really think lots of youth will find it useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hi, it's Belinda here as well. Hi, we are. Yeah, I've actually been to 51 Labs. I was at the opening of 51 Labs, so it's fantastic, and the overlap is huge.
That's great to hear from Belinda and Zainab as well. We would love to. I think Belinda, you said that you have been in talk with Patricia as well, one of our co-founders. That's great to hear from our side.
Yeah, no, this is a good stimulus, and thank you for Ruwayda for providing that to actually do more on that.
Time, you can provide some, because business is not my field at all, and it's not my interest either. But there's a huge gap. There's a huge opportunity for your organization to step up and help Kurdish youth in Kurdistan region, to enable them or facilitate a platform where we can link any Kurdish manufacturing companies or anything they can provide, especially now that the UK has gone through Brexit, there'll be tons and tons of shortages throughout various sectors. I think my son is just calling people on the phone.
If I go to the chat box again, Mr. Ali says that another challenge is online payment in Iraq and in Kurdistan. That people still prefer the old cash method and the old school way of payment. Especially, he's saying that he's publishing and in publishings and books, and like basically another problem would be how to make a tradition of reading ebooks as well, because like I don't see many people using ebooks as well.
Yeah, I don't think ebooks will ever overcome physical books, to be honest. But yeah, it is a problem. I know a couple of people because that had to drop off a product to a customer and then get paid on the doorstep, you know, in cash, and it's not a sustainable model. But because there's a lack of trust in banks, because we don't have a really strong business sector, that's why, you know, our system is still cash based. So when you strengthen the business sector, people have more trust in banks, in the system, and they'll be able to use cards. But you know, in UK, anywhere you go, you can just use contactless payment. In Kurdistan, very few places take card payments. So that's another issue. If you increase card payments, then people are more likely to carry a card than, you know, a wallet full of cash. But also if the government starts paying people directly into their banks, I think they've done this, although they're not paying salaries at the moment, unfortunately. If they pay everyone via the bank, then it kind of pushes the narrative that banks are useful and should be used.
Great. Lana Cameron says Fiverr and freelancer.com are a great way to make an extra buck while in lockdown and in this pandemic. I agree. Like, I think they are great websites to basically use your skills to have an extra income for yourself. I don't know what Ruwayda thinks. Mustafa Sarwar says, I have a question about e-commerce. I have so it's kind of risky for me. My main customers prefer to have physical examination of the product. I usually make product reviews and such. However, I can't get enough time to satisfy the customers. What do you think is a great?
So it would be to have trustworthy micro-influencers. So there's someone called Soza Muhammad. She's a micro-influencer in Slimani. She does reviews of products. I've seen her go to, when there wasn't a coronavirus, she did go to like several places where she reviewed whether the food or the standard of the salon, and it's useful. So the way to kind of overcome this difficulty would be to trust micro-influencers and give them your products to review, and, you know, give them to influencers that are honest and who are not just looking for a freebie, but provide actual reviews for you. I think that seems like the only possible solution in my opinion.
Dawar is basically is raising his or her hand. I would like, you unmuted yourself. Feel free to ask your question, please.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Can you hear me all?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for the topic. Actually, I'm one of the, the co-founders of PlusEdge. Because 51 Labs and PlusEdge, we started this webinar sessions, and thank you so much for the topic. It's so interesting. I don't have a particular question, but I really would like to share an experience of mine that has been very valuable with everyone. Regarding international relations and cooperations, it's so important for the Kurdish youth to face toward the countries that really need human resources. And because there are plenty of countries actually need human resources, really need people involved in their business processes. I will be sharing one of my experience that I had with my team at PlusEdge. We actually approached the Japanese government regarding an activity that they had. And the activity was organizing an international hackathon. I'm not very sure if you guys are familiar with hackathon.
if I talk about like from the 51 Labs perspective, we have hosted a hackathon in.
Yeah, sure. Sure. So
the-
maybe a few of our attendees and friends with us may not be very familiar with hackathon. Hackathon is a hacking in marathon. It's using technology in a marathon kind of way that people compete using computer skills. So actually, we approached the Japanese government and we said that they wanted to organize a hackathon, and we approached them. And now actually we are organizing our first hackathon with Japanese government, right, in Kyoto city in Japan. And actually it was very strange to see that how much some countries need the human resources to be involved in. And that's I just like to share the point with all business startups. Don't feel shy to approach everyone around you regarding the international relations, because nobody knows which party really needs your skills. And now in June, we will be having our hackathon with the Japanese government, and the hackathon itself is an international one, and that's a very great achievement. Actually, we're not expecting that. So what I'm going to finish with this point is, if you are a startup owner, or if you working with startups, never feel shy to talk about your skills and the scope of your company or the scope of your group that you have, because there's always need for it around the world. So I'm faced where the countries that really need human resources, and you will be building your international infrastructure regarding cooperations. And thank you so much. That was one of the points that I really like to share with everyone here today, because I think that was a very valuable experience that I went through.
Thank you very much for your experience. We really appreciate it. And thank you for, I think you're from Plus the Edge, as you mentioned, and thank you for your partnership with us.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
I think Qais is asking for a link or something to the hackathon or a Facebook page of it, if you can.
Of course, japanhackathon.com. That's it, japanhackathon.com. So you would be getting all details about how the Japan. Actually, let me just add upon this. And actually, this coronavirus thing happened, and we realized that we cannot go to Japan and help them regarding organizing. And we actually suggested the hackathon to be online. So actually, we did our best, and we've been working very hard on this. We try to migrate it to a remote work. Basically, from June, the hackathon will be happening remotely, which means everyone can attend from their homes. And that's a very great, and you have the chance of $5,000 if you win the first place in the hackathon.
That's amazing. I will send the link right now in the.
Yeah, japanhackathon.com. You guys are all free to check it out and see the people and everyone involved in hackathon. I really, really recommend it to everyone to join, because that's a very good opportunity for networking and knowing more people.
That's amazing. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Another point from Shilan is, I think we need to do some research, because I have found out by studying about such topics, we have lots of barriers in our community. Ruwayda, I think this one you have been talking about on your Twitter and on your platforms before, and like, what is your take on it?
I think she's definitely right that we've got many problems within the education sector. We obviously have a couple of good private schools that are very, very expensive for the working class families, but one of the opportunities that's before us, especially for the diaspora community, is to take back the skill set we have here to facilitate a way to link British universities to Kurdish universities. And prior to the coronavirus, I was in the process of getting a good partnership for Soran University, but unfortunately, everything has come to a really sharp pause at the moment. Yes, we need education in every way imaginable, but we first and foremost need to strengthen our existing academic institutions, because we don't have a culture where the first instinct is to go and learn a new skill set. But within universities, if you enrich the academia, then you sort of give young students a foundation to pursue whatever ideals they have. But You know, in my university, I went to Kingston University, and you had the option to do a placement year where in 2 years into your study, you had the option of taking a year off to work. We don't have that in Kurdistan. The idea that, you pause your studies and work seems alien to some people, but I think maybe encouraging that, encouraging people to, if you are English student, or if you're a business student, take a gap year, study, work somewhere, understand what the work sectors are like. Don't just be stuck behind sort of a curriculum that you need to pass, because many business students are unemployed in the region. Many students of IT, English language, they're unemployed because everyone is studying the same topic, but there isn't a job market for it. So you essentially, what perhaps should happen is change the courses that are available, look at the economy of the region, look at the job sector, what's available, and then train people to meet the demand that exists. But instead, we have all these cliche fields that people go into, they graduate, and suddenly they don't have the experience needed to thrive in, for example, computing. I mean, some of the computing courses are very basic. They don't even include coding, for instance. And it doesn't make sense that we haven't had those types of conversations, but obviously they need to be led by people that are academics, that understand both the need of the business sector and the academia.
Thank you. Ali makes a point. I think it's an answer to the previous question about how people are not satisfied with basically online businesses, and like they need to have to see the physical examples. He says product/service education is the only way. Also, sending free product or services might also do the trick. I think Dilman also answered, are there opportunities for pop-up shops in popular locations? I think both are good points regarding that question.
It depends. Yes, there's tons. I mean, again, before this virus, so many things were available. There are pop-up opportunities, especially for people who like food. There's a Palestinian chef in London. He did a pop-up restaurant just for 3 months where he cooked traditional Palestinian food, and it was a huge hit. So anyone that's sort of interested in Kurdish food, for example, you can coordinate with either existing restaurant or existing place in London, in any other sort of multicultural city in Europe, and have a pop-up restaurant there. Or if you want to do pop-up products, I think the best places for them would be markets. So in Cambridge, we've got a Cambridge market where people bring in handmade goods and they sell them. And the markets, I think it's every Saturday or Sunday. It's once a week. So there are opportunities, but it's very hard to come from a foreign country to Europe and do a pop-up event because the cost would be too high. You'd need to pay for your accommodation. You need to pay for 3 months rent for whatever pop-up product you have. And you would also need a visa. So you are really placing a lot of faith in a pop-up product. And in the end, you might not have the profit that you desire, basically. But locally in Kurdistan, we don't have a lot of things, but it doesn't mean we can't. It just means we don't have it yet. So if anyone has a pop-up idea, reach out to existing infrastructures. For example, Lala Candles, she sells her candles in several places. One of them is the bookshop, a book cafe shop. So, you know, it's she doesn't have a physical shop, but she still makes her products available that way.
Great, thank you. Is there any questions, any points left that we haven't talked about or haven't been mentioned yet? We would love to hear it. Okay, Zainab says, what are the most heavily used social media channels in Kurdistan?
The problem we have in Kurdistan is that we don't have a lot of statistics, but the least used social media platform is Twitter. And then Instagram and so Facebook would be the most used platform that appeals to sort of the median age of people. And it's very widely used. And again, on Facebook, you can have your own shops if you have a page, and you can put advertisements for your own products. So it's even Facebook is a selling platform.
Amazing. I'm sending two links now. One of them is our website as 51 Labs, so that everybody, especially those with entrepreneurs.
I think you sent it to me by accident.
Oh, I sent it privately. Sorry.
Yeah.
I will send it to the. Okay. No, I sent it. Especially for the ones with entrepreneurial ideas and startup ideas to benefit from our programs. I would encourage you to read our website. Also, I provided the link to Plus the Edge website, our partner. Karim Zay has his hands raised.
Hello, yes. I thought you will never see it. Thank you very much.
I saw it, but like I was trying to get there.
Great, thank you. So, hello everyone. My name is Karim Dezai. I'm a student of law at the American University of Iraq, Slemani, and I'm also the sales executive at Flybaban, one of the leading travel agencies in the Kurdistan region. So, I would like to make a point, especially in regards to the topic of this webinar, and thank you very much to 51 Labs and Ruwayda Khan for setting all this up. So I've realized that most of my friends who have their own startups, and at the beginning when they aim to start a business and run their own companies or corporates, it's that they get too overwhelming about the political environment that other businesses are influenced by. And so it's like everyone just expects to have an outcome in a matter of 6 months or 1 year. And it's like there is the stigma as well. If your business is not if you don't start making profit, and if you don't, let's say, get the money back that you've invested essentially in the business back in a matter of 6 months or a year, then it's deemed as a failure. However, so it's like it's somehow a burden towards achieving a level where you could establish international partnerships. So there's the stigma that there's in a very little amount of time you have to make all your money back. And the political influence in other businesses is that they get very big. They have lots of assets already that is put into the business, which is basically cannot be defined, in my opinion, as small businesses or startups. So it gets very overwhelming, and I believe that there should be a sort of let's say a curriculum that has to be set for business starters. And I think my university is starting to do that, AUIS. They are launching an accelerator entrepreneurship program where they reach out to small business owners and help them to sustain their businesses. And one of the goals is to surpass this stigma so that they can still sustain their businesses and reach a level where they could establish international partnerships and eventually start to export their products or ideas to, let's say, as a starter to our neighboring countries, or let's say similar business markets in the world. And I believe that there is lots to be done in this regards. However, we are on the right path as the Kurdistan region.
Thank you very much for your point. Of course, I think these ideas need to basically to be given sometimes to be implemented in the best ways. Ruwayda, what do you think of that point?
Yeah, no, it's quite sad, to be honest, because in Kurdistan you have politicians that pocket petrodollars, and then you have their family members that dominate the business sector. Then you have their extended family members that take the crumbs of the pie. So it's a very hard dynamics to overcome, but there's still room for startups. And you're absolutely right to say that many of the big businesses that flourish, they're not startups. They're not sort of ordinary people starting a small business and making it grow and grow and bigger. They have the backing of a political entity, but even so, they should not let people be sidetracked, especially youth. If you don't have the power of a political party behind you, good, then you're more authentic, you're more real, and you're more transparent. And it should never be the aspiration of any Kurdish youth to have the backing or the support of any politician or political power, because they will only taint your name and your business and your reputation. So I would argue that anyone without political influence that succeeds is perhaps more honorable and has more integrity because they've worked hard and they've gone through the right channels.
Diyar Al-Doski says, I totally agree with you, but in such a market like ours, it's very hard to sustain a business because our territory is not stable. I have my Rainbow Toys brand since 2016, but we are still not in a very good shape. Hence, we are patient, optimistic about the future.
So that's why I argue that don't focus internally, don't set up physical shops in the region, focus on the market outside of Kurdistan region. We don't have the political stability or security needed, but you can make products internally and then ship them outside. So I know the Rainbow Toy Store, you've got fabulous toys, really amazing interactive children products that many children could benefit from, but your audience, the people that you are, the market for it does not exist. Many people in Kurdistan still don't see the value of reading to your children who are aged 3. Many people still don't see the value of Montessori toys or toys that are not very musical. So, you know, you don't have the market for it, but there is the international market, and Amazon is a starting point for you to sell your products there and hopefully make some profit, or at least reduce your losses. Unfortunately, for many toy shops, they don't value like good quality toys, so it's a hard market to break into. But that's all the more reason to focus into Europe, to UK, to Canada, Australia. Sell your products there. Don't waste your time in a region that that only, you know, has a new political issue every couple of months. Invest elsewhere. You'll still make a profit regionally. You'll still help the economy regionally, because you could end up hiring people to make your products. But don't bring like goods from China and other countries and then sell them in Kurdistan and expect a profit to be made. That's not a sustainable model.
Great, thank you very much. Is there any last questions, any points from our participants before? Okay, yeah, Zainab says, although it may come from a privileged perspective, but since I am an entrepreneur living in London, I would like to say that having access to social media can be a great leveling ground where you have access to an unlimited audience if you market your product / service as well. Also, Belinda says, you will tell everyone to, oh, okay, sorry. It's a private chat. It's everyone to save the chat before we leave. Not really. I don't know. Everybody, you can save the chat for yourselves, I think, so that you can keep the links and the information for yourself. You can copy and like basically the text for yourself. Ali says, I live in Australia, but I'm invested in Iraq. I would love to improve what I can over there. Sana Ma'ruf says, many thanks to Ms. Ruwayda and 51 Labs team. It has been a great session. Thank you, Sana. With these, I think we can basically come to the end of the session. I don't know, Ruwayda, if you have any other points, any last points left to say, anything.
I just want to thank everyone that came today. I actually thought nobody would, because there's hardly any, prospect at the moment for startups. But thank you all. Hopefully next time we'll be able to bring maybe a successful businessman from UK to talk to Kurdish startup savvy youth. And in terms of how can the diaspora help? So I am the diaspora community. I think we can help by navigating through all the channels that are available. So something like Amazon Seller, lots of Kurdish people don't know about that. So maybe having an introduction to it in Kurdish language, that might be useful. Or maybe finding someone that can train locals to do a workshop on how to use Amazon Seller, that might be useful as well.
Thank you very much. Diyar also says, I'm also working in a coffee brand with some Kurdish team, and hopefully we can soon invite you in London, and hopefully we can go globally. Thank you so much for you, all of you, for making the webinar happen. I think Ruwayda's connection is lost. But with this, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of our webinar. Thank you very much for participating. Ruwayda's back.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you very much, Ruwayda. I really appreciate your participation with us. Thanks to everybody who participated in our in our session. Thanks to our partner and everybody who participated with us. Is there anything else, any last points? Or
Thank you all.
thank you. Have a nice night and have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.